Hello, everybody. Welcome to Short Stories, where I get into the minds of inspiring photographers and try to get insights from them that can help all of us become better photographers. Today, I am talking to a street and travel photographer, Eduardo Teixeira DeSousa from Portugal. He has been a photographer since the early 80s and has been published in Lonely Planet, National Geographic, Travel Magazine, The Times, and many other publications. And his work has been showcased in exhibitions in Lisbon, Madrid, Amsterdam, Paris, and he was named as the Urban Photographer of the Year in 2018. And we are going to find out exactly how Eduardo creates his photos. Eduardo, thanks for being here. Let me start by asking you, so what is street photography in your opinion, and what does it mean to you?
Hi, hello everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here. That's a very wide question. I'd say that at least for me, it's mainly a way of hunting and catching the poetry that's hidden in everyday life. It's a very simple and easy thing to do. You just have to have some camera. You don't need any particular type of equipment. Just a phone camera will do many times. But you have to. What you have to have is a keen eye and some observation skills. Sometimes you need to have the social skills too. It depends a bit on what you want to do. But the thing is touching a viewer with something that's akin to poetry. And this may result from a juxtaposition of elements, from a contrast, being a visual contrast, a social contrast, an emotion, a surprise. But in all cases, it's always a remark from the photographer on the daily life is viewing. So in that sense, it's very personal. It's easy, and you can really have a flow of images coming in from every day. Sometimes I see people saying things like, okay, I take 100, 500 photographs and I'll keep one. I don't know, sometimes from 100 photographs, I can keep 10 or 20. It really depends on whether you're being, you're in the middle of things. If you're in a good moment and in an interesting context, you really can keep a lot of shots from an everyday situation. We have an easier life now in the sense that using digital, we are not limited to the number of shots that we have to take. So what I'd say for people that are starting in street photography is don't be limited by your shots. Just keep taking them, and it's a good way to keep moving and to keep to perfect your shot is to do a first, a second, a third shot, and then from the same situation, because each shot will have small differences, and then you will pick one in the end, but you'll do a personal trajectory from the first to the last, and that's this trajectory that allows you to get better, to be a better photographer in the end.
I see. So, let's say I am just starting out with street photography, right? What kind of photos would be appreciated, I think, by professional street photographers? What is it that they look for? What makes a good street photo?
You have to be able to conjure from the elements you have something unique, something that has a strong aesthetic value, or something that is moody and just touches the viewer. Something that that works in the sense of creating a bridge between the shooter and the viewer. So it doesn't have to be you don't have to be technically perfect to get a good street shot. It can. Let's say that I just saw some half an hour ago. I was running my Instagram and I saw a photo, a pure street photography that had that joined a truck, a blue truck, a red person, a yellow wall, and it was a pure play of color, but it worked. This one worked in a purely aesthetic sense, and I didn't have I didn't felt any kind of of social message I just felt that the guy that was taking it was enjoying the shock, the way the colors play in the scene, and I liked it. But you can also have a photo that brings you something about a social context, like a class difference, like a cultural contrast, or like the difficulty we sometimes have in integrating our social norm and the pressure we have to be part of the herd. And sometimes you can individualize someone in a group in street photography and get that feeling. This can also make for a great photo. Sometimes people like to focus more on the human aspect. Sometimes they rather go for the visuals, for the aesthetics. I like to go a bit for both of this, to play in both tracks, but I'd say we have to have something that is unique and that brings something new to the viewer. And if that something new is a strong emotion, then I think as a street photographer, I'll be happy if that works.
How do you be unique, especially today when everybody seems to have a camera, and in pretty much every genre of photography, there's just so many people doing good things. Do you have any insight on how you can be unique?
Well, you have to first you have to let go of fears that people generally have interacting with the scene, interacting with the other. that is that can really make a difference, because it's not just because that your shot will be blocked. It's also because your creative process can get blocked by that. So the first thing I'd say is to allow yourself to get on the shot what you really want to get. Don't get shy. Don't overthink it. Sometimes people can have some fears of interfering with the others, of you know, in different cultural contexts. For instance, you can be a bit limited because you are evaluating your steps, and you can get afraid of getting too close, or you know, passing the acceptable limit. But what I realized is that usually all of that is very easily dismissed if you're just honest, and if you enjoy the moment, and if you're not afraid of getting in touch with the others, with the place. So get to your point, to your place, to the street, whatever you want to shot, and feel at ease with that. Don't overthink the situation. Don't get cloudy by your cultural scanning or of whatever app is happening. Just feel the scene as you see it, and click on that moment. That's a stronger message I can convey, because everyone is different, of course. But I see many people that ask me, well, how do you do to you know, to get some moments? And what I try to do is to get to a place, forget the clock. Also, this is important. We usually are in any place we usually have a clock running in our head, because we have to go somewhere, because we know that in half an hour we'll be doing something else, because we have to eat, because someone is calling. But for photography, it's important to keep time, to avoid the flow of time. Forget about the clock. That can be trained. This is something that can be trained. And you'll just have to be in the place. You can be there for 2 minutes, or for 10 minutes, for an hour, but you cannot you cannot be thinking about other things. You have to get yourself immersed in a static place, and then things are dynamic. You start enjoying the flow of people, of shadows, vehicles, and you can try to project and to anticipate what will happen next if you're in the scene for a couple of minutes. And that's where good photos can be made, because if you sit a bit, if you contemplate things, and if you stop the clock, you'll be focused on the way things can go, and then, if you're lucky, you can have a conjugation of some factors. I used to. This is personal. I don't know if this works with others, but it's a funny thing. I like to think in magical terms, in the sense that you get somewhere and you think, oh, wouldn't that be wonderful if I could get that person on that shadow there, or sitting, or in a special position. And when I have that kind of thought, I go after that. Sometimes they come true. And when they come true, you have a good photo. But you have to indulge yourself in this kind of thought first, because if you don't, when the situation appears, you won't be there with the camera ready to capture it. Okay, so it's important to have that kind of suspension of disbelief from yourself, from the place, and getting there and hoping for the best. Sometimes, sometimes the click works.
Reminds me of Picasso's famous quote: "Whatever you can imagine is real." So, but my question is, how do you improve your imagination skills? Does it come natural to you, or is that something that you worked on?
It's something we work on, and I worked on it. The tendency is to think that it's something we are born with, and of course we have to have that from the start. But I think we all have that from childhood. But we can work over that. We can train ourselves. We can train the eye to be in a constant way, in a constant photographing mood, because it's all played in the eye. It's not played in the camera. It's played in the brain. So you have to train a way of being in the places, like like scanning the place and keeping shooting things just with your eye and trying. And this is something that is trained, right? You can take 100 photos in some seconds. Let's imagine the scene. You get to a restaurant, you sit, and then you look around, and you observe, and then from that moment on, you start to contemplate, which is a different step of the process. When you start to contemplate, you can start shooting mentally. You can shoot a lot, but at least you can try to make photos in your mind, and sometimes your mind crosses that moment where you say, okay, that will work, and then you have to have the camera ready. And attack the situation.
Seems to me that you're saying that photography is, to you at least, is more of an inward journey. It's an inward experience than an external activity.
Yes, but it's something that we can get much better if we train this type of skill. You have to be a bit. Of course, this may sound a bit obsessive, because it is, but it's very fun. It's a way of multiplying the enjoyment you get for life. Or at least that's how I see it. Right. You start to analyze what you see in different terms, because you're looking for lines, you're looking for shadows, you're looking for perspectives, you're looking for color, you're looking for texture, repeating patterns, all of that. All of this creates a much more interesting environment for yourself. So in the end, yes, I think I have a much better life having trained this that if I hadn't. Also, this is something I think it's important for urbanites. When we live in large cities, we forget important things that people living in rural environments have every day. Like where is the sun? When will the sun rise tomorrow? And what's the impact that may have in my life? And if you're going for, if you're getting things, if you're seeing things through the photographer's eye, you will have this kind of important things playing in your mind again. Like, okay, the time today we have a cloudy day. How can I use a cloudy day? What's the use of that? Okay, we have some wind. The wind will change the clouds. The wind can make some things different. The trees will be different. People running will be different because you'll have the air and all that, and you'll play. And for me, I have a series of photos with waves. This is not street photography. This is the wave series, which I take very near to my home here. To take photographs of the waves, the wind is fundamental. The tide is important. The hour of the day. A lot of things that are happening in the natural world that have some importance that will not have if it wasn't for photography. So photography keeps you awake for this kind of essential values, if you want, and it can make for a better day.
Before the camera was invented, how do you think people depicted street culture? Was that done in paintings and art, or was depicting street was not a big thing back then?
I've seen paintings from the Renaissance where you clearly have the drive for getting life as it is, getting the daily life, and the small things in daily life, the tenderness in daily life, or the emotions brought onto the painting. So my feeling is that's something that's have been in us for a long time. You start to have depictions of life, of everyday, of life every day in, I don't know, in the classic period. If you go to Roman villas, you have representations in the walls that are scenes from street life, that are things, everyday things that are being seen from a prism of beauty and emotion. So it's really we are continuing that type of that path that has been threaded for a very long time. I think that there have been, in the last century, there have been a lot of there is an evolution in the way we see everyday life, and photography has had a really important contribution to that. But it's something that you have, you have. I was thinking visually, but now that you asked me that, you have that in the written word. You have that in books, in novels.
Poetry.
We try in poetry. We try to capture that and put it in the pages of a book or in the frame of a photography.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You've been a photographer in the film days. So how has things changed from
Oh, quite a
back
lot.
then to now? Well, what are some
Uh,
elements that have changed?
Mhm. It's most of the people that shoot in film will tell you the same thing, and I'm no different. The main difference is that you had to spare your shots. You had to count. You had a roll of film, and you had a number in your head, which was the shots that you had in that roll of film.
Yeah.
And if you went somewhere, you could be out of luck if you were in the wrong lighting situations, for instance, and the film was not the one adjusted to that place. What will you do? Will you spare some more dollars and change the film or not? That there was a decision there, and there were many decisions that we now don't have to make, and so we have an easier life these days because we can just adjust to the moment and keep shooting.
But do you think that the fact that we had to make those decisions contributed somewhat to the quality of the images? Because the reason I say this is, when I look back at some of the old pictures, especially my mom's, pictures from when she was in Zambia in the 70s, there's a character in the pictures that sometimes I don't see in many pictures today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because people are just snapping away and because you can. Do you think that having to make those decisions back in the film days contributed to the quality?
I like to think that yes, that contributed to quality, but of course, that can still happen if you just stop for a moment before taking the photograph. Then you also had the advantage of the medium in the sense that when you're shooting in film, things tend to get a bit better, like flashes of bright light can be processed in the final steps. When you're doing the print, you can adjust to that. So film protects a bit the errors you can have in digital photography, but that's not really the main thing. The main thing I believe is that you think before you shot. When you don't have an instant feedback from the camera, that also makes you a bit different in the way you tend to protect the moment. Let me explain. Let's say that you just find some situation that you feel can be an excellent photo. If you're not certain of the shot you took in a moment, and with cameras, with film cameras, you don't have that type of feedback, right? You take the shot, and then you'll have to wait for some days before you see it. That makes you think before clicking, but that also makes you shoot in the way that will protect your photo from surprises. Like you'll be a bit more conservative. You won't take many risks.
Yeah,
something we can do in digital.
right.
Right? Because you won't be able to correct it, and you'll only discover the problem days later. So yeah, I think it changes a bit your initial approach to the photo. Of course, I'm not talking about the street photographers like Soullight or Vivian. There were people that I think I don't know because I didn't talk to them, but from the work that that we have now, that we can see now, they didn't seem much worried about running some risks. But that was not the majority. For the majority, people were trying to be protective on the scene. They were thinking a bit, and then they won't risk, for instance, a strong backlight that could ruin your shot. So if you look back at photography from the 60s, from the 70s, you normally have shots that are lighted in a much less risky way. At least that's the way I remember it.
It's a very interesting perspective, actually. So you're saying that basically back then it was all about safety, right? Having that safety, and now that you can take a little bit more risk, there are different types of shots that become possible.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe we've already touched upon this, but you mentioned lines, shadows, colors, perspectives, textures, and repeating patterns. But other than this, right? Is there a way to say, or what's the difference between a good street photo and a great street photo?
It's the way you look at it and think, well, I wish I was the photographer in this one. No, I'm joking. The better ones will be the ones that you can keep looking at, and you don't tire of looking at them.
Why is that? What is it that makes it that you want to look at it more?
Because each time you look at them, you get something new, you get something different, or because you just think it's perfect in a way that encapsulates the essence of the idea the photographer had in mind. There are some shots that are you can look at them and think, okay, this guy was very, very lucky. But when it's a great shot, what you think it's not that. It's just that guy was sharp enough to get this moment right in time and to compose it perfectly. And you can enjoy the frame emotionally without any kind of hurdles. You don't have to adjust to anything, to some personal thing the photographer had in his mind. So the connection, the bridge, is immediate to the photographer, and right. That's the difference between the great ones and the not so good ones.
How do you shoot this picture? Could you take us through the process?
The process, yes. Okay, so this one is from what I call the web series, and I number them. And these are taken very near to my home, and that's a good thing because I usually have I have the habit of going through the weather sites and see how things are going to be the following week. And that week, the week I took that one, I knew that there a conjugation was expected of a strong tidal moment and some wind. And when this happens, sometimes that kind of wave forms there in that in that place. So I went there. You see that it's more or less midday. It's running into the afternoon. So that means I have living in Portugal. I have the sun on the west. I'm facing west, so I have a bit of backlight, and the backlight is great to get the drops there of the water more perfectly. So I went for a faster shot, like 1:2000. I'm not sure. It must say there that it's 1,000 on
1/800 looks like.
800. Okay. I usually go for the faster speed I can get to crystallize the water. And then this guy that you see there was someone, a tourist, or I don't know, someone that obviously he wasn't familiar to the place, because what he's doing can be dangerous, and there are warnings. And I myself, I called him and tried to, I shouted at him and told him, okay, be wary, because what you're doing is it's not you're playing, you are playing with luck there.
Yeah.
But he went anyway, and he was happy, I think, for the clash, the wind in his face. It can get contagious, because it's you feel the elements there. So he went along the wall, and I kept shooting in different positions until the wave came. But of course, I wasn't aware when the moment will come. But I had that place studied, so I knew it will come in a way or the other. Sometimes it's just a smaller wave, and then okay, we have a bit of frustration, and you repeat the process. You go there, and then the next week. But that week, that day, that wave, it worked. And I usually shoot this on bursts. It can look at it as if it's improvised, but it's not. If you shoot in bursts, you will have a better one to pick. So that's kind of advice. It's important for shooting waves, but it's important for shooting birds, animals, children, anything that moves fast and in a way that you cannot predict. There you go. It's another advantage of digital over film, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I got something like a dozen shots of this kind, and this one was the keeper. In that shot, if you look at it, there is a dynamic that comes from the long diagonal that the water makes, and in that sense, it's very interesting to be there, to sit there for a couple of hours, because you get all kinds of possible compositions. For a trained eye, it's a perfect way to spend an afternoon. You just sit there and try to compose different plays with that kind of thing, because you can crop in a different way, because you can go for the horizontals instead of going for diagonals. You can try to go just for for the big clash, for the emotion in the viewer, for the dramatic type of shot. This one is not so dramatic. It's more, it works on a subtler way, right?
Yeah.
But you can also go there and go for the plainly dramatic shot, which is also quite fun to try. This is something that I noticed worked much better with persons. Now, it's important to have this in mind. It can get dangerous. So don't try this at home. And don't try this with anyone you want to protect, because these ones have to to be done under controlled circumstances.
Don't want to mess with the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Must have been pretty interesting just being there, other than just the photography, right? Is this in Porto, Portugal?
Yes,
is that how you pronounce
Porto.
the name? Porto.
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 Mm-hmm. It's right. Nowadays, it's in the middle of the city. 50 years ago, it was in the outskirts of Porto. Now it's pretty much central. It's a lighthouse that stands at the mouth of the Douro River, which is the river that passes here. That lighthouse was and is important for traffic along here, along the coast. This is a very Atlantic place in the sense that you, from October to March, it's really it's windy. You have strong showers and you have strong tides. So yes, for this kind of photography, it's a very interesting place, and I'm just lucky to live nearby. But for instance, there are lots of photographers that come here to Portugal, a bit south from Porto. You have Nazaré, which is a place where all the latest records of surfed waves, the higher waves surfed, happened in Nazaré, where you have very strong waves, very dramatic ones.
And this is during high tide?
Yes, in high tide. It's not so difficult to get this kind of shot done if you know what you're looking for and if you go through the weather info. You have to be able to look at it and extract from there the information, because it depends on the orientation on the motion of the water, which is something the weather info will get you.
Okay, what would I be looking for on the weather side?
You'll have to look for a difference of a cycle in the wave for more than, let's say, 9, 10, 11 seconds. This is when you know the rhythm of the waves is different when they're strong. When they're strong, you have a longer time in seconds between peaks of waves. So when you see something like okay, the prediction is something like 15 seconds or 30 seconds, that means you will have really strong waves coming in, strong with power in the water, and these make for different types of flash.
So what is this 15 seconds again?
It's
time between waves?
It's the cycle between the waves. It's the time between the two peaks. So when you have a wave clashing, if you count the seconds, if you get 8 or 10 seconds until the next one, or if you get 30, that means the 10-second waves will be weaker than the 30 seconds wave, right? Because the other has a different accumulation time. It will be a stronger one. It will get you a different splash.
I see.
You can go for different speeds in photography when shooting these, because they will give you much more of a firework effect. If you take a usual time like 125 seconds of a powerful wave, that creates you like a flower. It's the effect you have from a firework. But if you do that to a less strong wave, you'll have something that will not look very, very interesting. It will look like it was dim, like it was like it was taken on an interesting speed. So you can get you have to adjust the speed, and you have some predictions that work for like a week or so. So let's say you want to visit. If you want to do that, you'll have the advantage of having weather info that can give you a good prediction in like a week ahead time frame, which is enough for you to prepare and to get your bag ready, to get your tickets, and to come to Porto or to Nazaré.
How far is this place from where you live?
From here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like 2 hours, 2 hour drive.
And I'm guessing that it's in the evening time that you're going to get the biggest waves. Is it closer to?
No, it depends. It depends. When they happen, they are usually part of a bigger ocean move. So what you have is something you can track on the satellite information, because you see the ocean, this kind of storm waves, they form on the North Atlantic on the west, on the US coast sometimes, and then they have a cycle, they go through the ocean from west to east. So that's why you have some time to prepare. When they arrive here, we usually can be on an alert state for at least for 1-2 days before.
And you said that you took advantage of the backlight behind the wave. So there has to be a time of the day when that backlight is going to be the best, right? Or are you always going to get?
Yes. Of course, it depends on the viewer. Sometimes some people like to have the contrast and the sunset. You can get the sunset in this.
What time was this at?
This one was like 3 p.m. So in the afternoon, more on the winter side of the year. So 3 p.m. is already like 2 or 3 hours from sunset.
The sun looks like it's on that side, right?
Yes, we are facing we will be facing the sunset in 2-3 hours time there. If you go if you have the sun on your back, then you will have some details on the waves that can get interesting shots if you like the texture of water. If you have the light in the backside, you will have the shape, the general shape of the wave, but you will lose a bit of texture.
Okay, so let me see if I got this right. So first is you look for, you have to wait till high tide, and then you go to the weather website and look for when you're going to get the biggest time difference between the wave cycles.
Yes.
Okay, and then you go to your scene. You set up your shot so you have nice backlight. You imagine the wave and the backlight. And then you hope there's a human being who's willing to risk his and so you get a nice shot with a person, and then you are just going to take a burst of 50-60
and then you
shots.
take a burst. Yes.
Okay, and then you're just doing this on multiple waves, and you're trying to get some nice interesting shapes like diagonals on this one.
And in this one, we are going for the vertical, the vertical shot and the vertical crop too. That kind of crop can give you a hint of the power that's going on, and you have a play with the seagull. So of course there was no human. Thankfully,
the seagull was the key thing in this picture, right? Without that, it would have been Yes,
it would have been a much less interesting photo, I think. So I was tracking the seagull, and of course they are always there. So they are generous subjects.
Would it be a sin in street photography to place a seagull there if there wasn't one?
Yes, well, actually, we have so many seagulls here that I don't have that problem. If I want one for street photography, I just have to wait usually for some minutes.
Well, this is an incredible shot. Is this how it is? Like every month or so, the waves?
It's concentrated in the winter months, like January to March.
And this one was on the same day as the other?
No, this one is in a different day. In this one, we have a hazy day. Haze is something that is much undervalued by some photographers. Haze is usually a great gift that can add mood to a scene, and in that day there was a strong haze, so I tried to go essentially for the feeling that haze can create. The wave arrives in the midst of it. It seems that it comes from nowhere, and in that sense, it's the perception you can have. It's much more dangerous than one that's coming from a place you see. This one is coming from a place you didn't see, you didn't anticipate, and it's a surprise. It will take the lighthouse by surprise.
The
lighthouse. At least I tried to go for that. So you see that I was running a movie in my mind. Like, okay,
yeah.
Everything is serene and a wave is coming. I love these days when we have the haze.
The lighthouse is getting battered, and it must be constructed pretty well. Like, it's how old is this lighthouse?
Oh, it's there's some Hollywood trick going on there, because the lighthouse is like 130 years old, but it's built over a very solid rock. It's built on a rock outcrop, so actually the water is shocking, is impacting the rock beneath the lighthouse and not the lighthouse. Those that we can just keep taking there. There are so many.
Is it pretty easy to get a good shot here? Like, you come here and then you just have a lot of opportunities?
You have many opportunities for this type of shot. You have to be there like for some time, because unless you're lucky, you have to wait for some time. But I'd say you can get this type of shot 20, 25 times a year. So it's not unusual. What can be unusual is the height that the water goes. And in that sense, there's always an element of surprise. You never know what you're going to get. But that's part of the play. That's part of the joy of being there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this one is a street shot, right? This one is a typical street shot. I remember having one shot. I was very happy with that. You don't have it there, but with the policeman that was there precisely to avoid people getting too close to the water. It was a very windy day, and so there's one shot of him going against the wind. The wind is blowing a wave towards him in his background, and it creates a play between the man, the lonely man, which happens to be a police, and the wave. There you go. I was trying to go for a wave photo, and I end up getting a street photo because I thought the elements play better for that kind of interplay.
Yeah.
This happens all the time if you have the switch, if you keep the switch in your mind ready, and that's sometimes how I happen to be a bit more luckier than I should.
When you say keep the switch in your mind ready, what are you referring to?
I think we have to try to be versatile in the shots we want to do. Of course, you can be you can be perfectionist and try to get a specific shot done. If you are in the studio, if you play in the studio, then probably that's the type of thing you're going after. But if you're playing outside, if you're playing somewhere that in a place you cannot control the light, you cannot control people, so you cannot control the waves. So you have to go a bit for everything and keep your versatility to the max. And when I'm speaking about that switch, it's that the capacity of being on the track to some type of shot and then stop and realize that there's something happening that can get you a different shot of a different thing. Sometimes a different composition is enough. And that changes completely the subject and the initial point you have. This is something I can say to people that like architecture photography. The ones amongst us that like to photograph buildings and bridges and structures, and okay, great. Like you have a bridge behind you, a photo with the San Francisco bridge, right? Okay, it's a nice photo, a very interesting one, yeah. But then let's say that we are on that spot and you see someone, or a seagull, or some different element that can be conjugated, and it will get you a different shot, right?
Right.
It will take you apart from the structure or from the man-made object, and it can get you into a different mind frame. It can get you. It can help you dream, or it can help you realize how beautiful the bridge is as a human effort it is. How can you do that? I don't know. It depends on the place. But let's say you see someone passing that can be used to amplify the message the bridge has. If the opportunity arises and you're there with a tripod, what I say is, okay, why not stop for a bit, forget the tripod, take the camera, and shoot the moment. And then you can get back to the tripod, get the bridge, and get your shot. But on your way there, you can get a dozen different shots in different styles, and keep trying doing that, because you'll get a much fuzzier body of work, but possibly a more interesting one, in the sense that it will open you new paths for your personal experience.
You had brought up the point about culture, right? And you travel to a lot of places as a travel and street photographer. The culture must be different in different places, right? And how do you deal with that? Like, for example, in some places, people are a bit more private. In other places, people are open to being photographed. How do you deal with that as a street photographer? What are the kinds of ethics that you follow, and what should a street photographer really have in mind?
Well, it's a very important point. First, I try to read a bit about the place and the people, and to understand how they feel about being photographed. I think that things are easier now in the days of Instagram and mobile phones, because people react much easier to photographs. If this was different 10 years ago in some places. I remember being in a place which I found very difficult to photograph on the streets in Guatemala. In the Guatemalan highlands, people suffered a lot in the 80s and in the 70s, in the 80s, with repression and violence, and they are wary of being photographed. And in general, I think of people that are coming from other places. They like to keep their privacy, and they didn't like very much to be photographed. At least that's how I felt initially. But then I had the luck to be there for more time, and as days went along, and as you start to communicate better with people, I found a way of getting my shots done by approaching them in a very evident way. Now, like yes, I wanted to photograph them. Please. So it's important that one does not try to impose himself and the camera on them. I tried to be as open as possible as what I want to do. And many times I show the photography afterwards to the persons that I photographed. But also I tried to be as invisible as can be, because that can interfere with the shot, right? As is the case in this shot. If I was openly telling our subject, I was photographing that, I will probably get a nice smile, or a no. But that was not what I was after, right? So what I've done in this case was to sit on the other side for some time, so like, well, it was much time, but like a couple of minutes, and I initiated communication with, you know, like an open smile, or with your face. We have to use that. We have to communicate the minimum, but we have the universal power to do so. Yes, I've done that, and I was not hiding the camera. So once in a while, when the position that was good, I took like a series of probably 10 photos or something like this one. And all this time, I was not too hungry for the photo. So I was not absolutely focused on the photo. I was trying to be a good company in that place. Like I was not invading the place with my camera, and well, and some serenity, and it helped. So I try to do that. If that fails, then okay, tomorrow will be another day, and we'll have a new moment. And some people really, they don't want to be photographed. Okay, we have to accept that and to love that, because we have to love the subjects we are photographing, right? In all their aspects. if people don't feel at ease being photographed, we can try to flank that. We can try to negotiate our way through it, but we have to be ready to accept to accept a no, and to smile at that and to be constructive upon that. In that particular photo, at a given moment, the lady realized I was shooting, but it didn't come as a surprise to her. Like she didn't felt hunted in the sense that I was trying to to get something out of the scene without her knowledge. I showed the photo in the end, and we had a good honest laugh about it. I think she liked it.
Yeah.
But there was a similar circumstance on 1 or 2 days before that, with someone that was in the same function as she was in a different place, and she didn't want it to be photographed in that type of job. Like she didn't felt at ease at that, and we have to always to prioritize our subject's feeling, of course. In that type of situations, what I recommend is be honest and be straight, and get the photo on the secondary level. First, you have to get a minimum relation with the place, with the person, and then if the way is clear, let's put it this way, then yes, go around and photograph that.
I see. And for a photo like this, I think you look for the scene first, because the scene looks gorgeous here. The light's coming from that side. So you set up your scene first, and then you wait for somebody to come and fill up the frame.
Sometimes I don't do that much, in the sense that's more like hunting the place first and trying to capture the person afterwards.
I see.
It can work, but sometimes that just takes you a lot of effort, and it can get not very rewarding. So I wouldn't advise people to do that much, because they can try that. They can get frustrated by one time, first time, a second time, a third time, and then they stop doing that. What I think is more effective is when you see a moment where the person feels right in the place, which was that case, because there was a color game there. There is the positioning. You have some power to crop it in different terms. So what I try to do is not get too technical. I try to compose in a way that allows me for some cut, some further cut, or for a different crop when I get home. And so that photograph was taken on the widest angle I could, because I wanted the context. And what I'm going for is for a conjugation of people and place that was already there when I was passing there. It caught my eye, so I sat the other way, and it worked. Of course, sometimes you feel that it can get you an interesting photo if someone comes along. It will be just right, and that's the case where many street photos I have there with people passing, anonymous people, where more or less everyone can be the human subject for that. If you have a smaller person profile, basically any profile will do, because it will. It's if the key to the photo is the silhouette of a small silhouette of a person, any person will do, and you wait, and yes, your shot is done. But in that case, that's not. It doesn't work that way. You have to have that person, that specific person in that color, in that attire and mood for the photo to work. If that's the case, then you really have to stop yourself and engage with the person and go for it. You cannot rely on the hunting, on the patience game for that kind of shot. If you want to go hunt, then what I'd recommend is, okay, do so in places where you can pass a second time, a third time, and a fourth time, because usually it doesn't yield photos at first. But if you know the place, if you know times of day where you'll have people passing there, if it's people you're after, if you have a seagull, if you want a seagull passing, you cannot predict seagulls, but they have a pattern, right? You know, they are more active at some given hours of the day. So go there at that time of day, and sit on your place, and when she passes, you'll have the photo. Okay, but be ready to wait, and know that you'll get a better shot if you know the place and if you have the opportunity to go there like 10 times in your life. If you only have the opportunity to be there once or twice in your life, like a typical travel photo is something like that. You are in a place that you are not visiting anymore. You're not going to repeat. So you lose the opportunity if you lose the first moment, you'll not get a shot. Then it's not a good strategy to go for the sitting. For the sitting.
Did you go to Rajasthan just for photography, or was that just a side thing?
It was both. I picked the place because, of course, I knew it will be interesting in terms of photography, but I also wanted to go there for personal reasons, because I was attracted by the culture, and I had been there. This one was taken in 2017. I had been there in 1998, so 20 years earlier, and I love the place, and it's very rich artistically. So it's that kind of place where even if you don't have a camera, if you just want to visit, you'll be bombarded with interesting sights and people and sounds. So it's very intense, and that's why I picked the place. So if you pick that kind of place, and if you have a camera at hand, all the better.
What's your advice to new photographers?
Keep the lens, keep the camera with you at all times, keep an extra spare battery, and don't stop shooting. I think it's the best advice I can give. Don't be shy, and love the subject you are photographing, because that will be something you see in the photo.
Yeah.
If you are at ease with what you're shooting, if you are feeling some kind of love towards what you're shooting, I don't know how, but it will get you a sweeter frame.
Yeah, I think sometimes love is underrated in photography. People just want to get their shot, and they want to make a beautiful shot, and they hardly take time to think about what they're shooting and loving their subject, like you said.
Also, don't shoot for the others. Shoot for yourself. Don't try to shoot in a way that you feel will get you more feedback from a social network. That's not your personal photography. That's a reflection of a common way of reading photography, of a social way of reading photography. Okay, it can be an interesting subject to go through, but my point is, it's not what you personally want. What you really want to do is your shots, your story. So forget about social network success. Go for something that resonates with your aesthetics and with your values. And then afterwards, you'll think if you'll post it or not. Don't worry about that at the time of shooting.
Fantastic. Well, Eduardo, it was a lot of fun talking to you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Sharing. Yeah. I could talk to you for a lot more time, but I can see your dog really needs you.
Oh yes, he was asking. Alf from the TV series.